One of the things we deal with a lot in the atheist movement is the lack of minorities in the movement itself. There's very few Latinos, there's very few people of color in general in the movement, and the comment that came in regards to my criticism of the content of the Bible about everything being wrong, it made me wonder which part was wrong. The Bible condoning slavery or genocide or adultery or rape or murder or any number of ridiculously evil things. And that silly comment, which shows again that you should read the Bible. Atheists clearly have. Most religious people just listen to what the pastor says because he's a figure of authority. You should just listen and follow. That's how it goes. But that comment put me again in the mind of thinking about why people of color in general in the Western Hemisphere cling to religion in a way that makes atheist groups seem like kind of an old white man's movement, because it's the lack of Latinos and blacks in the movement in general. And it always struck me as funny that these demographics, which are particularly culturally tied to religion in a way that it makes it hard for atheists within those communities to break out on their own because of familial pressures and larger community pressures. It's strikingly odd because the people who brought them Christianity were the very people who enslaved them and tore them from their homelands and destroyed their native religions. I love the retro movements in terms of African holidays that some communities embrace, and people trying to get back to the roots that were lost. These native religions to me are so much more beautiful than the foul, fetid, guilt and fear-driven Judeo-Christian myth arc, which is impossibly ridiculous and not fun at all. All of those native religions are just better, let's face it. And we'll get into that with the Pagan Priestess on the podcast, which will be coming out soon. But my point is that the cultures that had this great tradition stolen from them by slavers and conquistadores in Central and South America and Mesoamerica brought Christianity as a weapon and as a justification for how easily it was for them to use their superior weaponry and so forth, and their germs that they brought from Europe to wipe out native cultures. They used Christianity as an excuse, and yet the descendants of those victims embrace Christianity with a fervor that is not seen except in white evangelical circles. Honestly, the public at large doesn't really have that kind of interest in guilting people into staying into a myth culture that you might opt out of. I never did as a Protestant. I know some Catholics have a tough time here in America, but still, they're not. It's just the evidence is there. We have white people innumerable in the movement, and we don't have any African American. Not any, but I mean, there's some great ones, and plenty of them, but not enough to make a real impact on the larger community, and by that I mean the world and America in general. I wonder again why these people continue to cling to those cultures that use the evil pronouncements in the Bible to go out and do these things, to go out and kill. If you don't believe this way, go out and kill all the people who aren't on my God's team. Let's get them all. Let's just they wipe them out. They use their superior fighting technique and weapons and the germs, quite frankly, that they brought that they didn't have any control over, to wipe out native populations that didn't have any immunity to them, and yet their descendants cling to it like it was the greatest thing that ever happened. Well, which is it? We saved your immortal souls with that crap, or we tore you out of your homeland and enslaved you. You can't have it both ways. Indians, Native American folk with crosses around their neck, going around griping about what they lost. Well, what did you lose? Did you lose your land, or did you gain your immortal soul? You can't have it both ways. So everybody needs to think about that a little, and I urge atheists of all kinds, agnostics, secularists, in minority communities, to come out and join the fight and help us break this cycle of illogic that just enslaves minds today like it did bodies centuries ago.